2,000 years ago, the human world was destroyed. The forest inhabited by the spirits was burned to ashes. The gods and goddesses were killed. There was the figure of the feared demon king. He conquered other creatures with incredible cruelty, and those who dared to oppose him were exterminated. The scene then changed to the present, where an owl sent invitation letters to people selected to become prospective students at the Demon King Academy. According to rumors, one of this year's students was the reincarnation of the Demon King. One of the people who received the letter was a young man named Anos Voldigode. The next day, everyone who got the letter left for the Demon King Academy. In front of the academy gate, Anos met a girl named Misha Necron. Misha was accompanied by her family, and they walked together towards the academy. However, they were stopped by a person named Zeep's Indu. It turned out that Zeeps was the son of a respectable family, namely the Indu family. He mocked Anos and Misha, who were brought by their parents. Zeeps wanted to prank the two of them, but Anos and Misha just walked past him. Zeeps didn't accept that and called them both. Anos said that he didn't want to serve Zeeps because his magic was very low. Annoyed, Zeeps created fire from the palm of his hand. However, Anos easily extinguished the fire. After that, Anos used his magic spell to attack Zeeps. At that moment, Zeeps lost control and started torturing himself. Anos and Misha then left him. Several times, exams for prospective students were carried out. They would fight on one and could use any method so they could win. In the first match, Anos had to face Zeeps. Zeeps then used anti-magic armor. He also used a legendary sword passed down from generation to generation by the Indu family called Zephyrd. Because he wanted to avenge himself, he charged forward with full power and wielded a sword covered in fierce flames. But again, Anos was able to easily extinguish the fire on the sword. Zeeps immediately stopped running in surprise. Anos tried to make things easier for Zeeps and said that he would not move at all against him. At that moment, Zeeps' body immediately started bleeding. It turned out that Anos used his heartbeat to use suppression magic. Zeeps was badly battered by the deadly attack. Zeeps collapsed helplessly, but he still didn't give up. He said that Anos was a bastard who only relied on suppression magic. Anos immediately approached Zeeps and stepped on his head. Anos said that if he could make Zeeps surrender without using suppression magic, he would win easily. But if he failed, then Zeeps would win. Zeeps agreed. Anos then pulled his foot from Zeeps' head. Zeeps said even if he died, he would never give up. Anos then snapped his fingers in front of Zeeps. Zeeps' body was immediately thrown backwards and crushed. At that time, Anos used resurrection magic to return Zeeps to his original condition. Anos said that as long as his heart had not been destroyed, Zeeps would not really die. Anos would return to Zeeps' physical form 3 seconds after he was killed. That meant Anos could kill and resurrect Zeeps over and over again as many times as he wanted. Finally, Zeeps gave up. Meanwhile, a mysterious man was annoying to see Anos challenging members of the royal family. A few moments later, the prospective students would be assessed for their magical abilities. The prospective students placed their hands on a crystal. Misha came forward and put her hand on it. It turned out she had a magic power of 100,246. Anos praised Misha's strength. Anos then stepped forward and pressed his hand against the crystal. But immediately, the crystal shattered into pieces. Anos' magic energy was too strong, so the crystal couldn't contain it and was destroyed. Misha was able to find out about this because she had an advantage called the Demon's Eye. Sometime after that, skills testing began. Anos entered a magic circle on the floor and was immediately thrown into an empty dimension. He was asked all kinds of questions and he could answer them all. In the afternoon after taking the exam, he met Misha, who was waiting for him outside the academy. They both successfully graduated and wanted to celebrate it. Anos invited Misha to go to his house because his mother must have thrown a party. Misha agreed. They joined hands and Anos immediately used teleportation magic. Not many people could perform teleportation magic in those days. This magic had disappeared since mythological times. After that, Anos invited Misha to enter his house. They were immediately greeted by Anos' mother, Isabella Voldigode, who was very happy with her son's graduation. His mother did not expect Anos to graduate a month after being born. His mother asked who the woman Anos brought home. Anos answered that the woman's name was Misha Necron. He had just met her at school. His mother was happy even though Anos was only 1 month old, but he already had a future daughter-in-law. Anos apologized to Misha because his mother easily came to conclusions. Not long after, Anos' father, Gustav Voldigode, arrived. He also felt excited and immediately invited them to a party. They spent time together having a big meal. After all the events were over, Anos took Misha home. On the way home, Anos apologized to Misha because his parents were so excited. Misha said that it was okay. She added that it was not her parents who delivered her this morning. Her biological parents were still alive, but they were very busy. Not long after, creation magic appeared. Anos and Misha suddenly found themselves in the middle of an arena. Someone who was the newest demon king appeared. He was a man named Leorg Indu, head of the Indu family. Not only he, but several soldiers along with Zeeps appeared there. Leorg didn't accept people like Anos insulting the royal family. Zeeps also threatened Anos. However, Leorg instead beat his younger brother, Black and Blue. He said that he didn't need weak people like Zeeps. Not long after, Leorg and his subordinates created a magic circle and prepared to attack Anos. However, Anos made their magic circle go out of control and hurt their own hands. Anos warned them not to do anything wrong, but Leorg didn't care and created a very powerful forbidden magic. The magic was called Beginning Magic. The attack hit from the front and created a huge explosion. However, when the explosion ended, Anos seemed fine and not injured in the slightest. Anos said that Leorg had just borrowed the Demon King's magic. It was powerful magic, but unfortunately the magic didn't work on him because he was the beginning itself. That meant Leorg had borrowed magic from Anos. Not long after, Anos turned Zeeps into a zombie. Zeeps walked towards Leorg with uncontrollable killing intent. Leorg wanted to kill the zombie, but Anos said that if Leorg did that, then it meant he would just run away. Finally, Leorg called Zeep his name, and finally they both turned into zombies. Not long after, Anos returned them both to their original state. He said after 2,000 years, his descendants became very weak. Anos then introduced himself as the first Demon King. The scene then changed to the mythological era, where Anos the Demon King was sitting on his throne. He was visited by a hero named Kanon. Kanon said that the Demon King had slaughtered many humans. However, Anos said that humans had also slaughtered many demons. All of this happened because of the war. Humans thought that if they eliminated the demons, then peace would be created. However, Anos felt that humans would wage war with other races. When all races had been killed, humans would be at war with themselves. Because of that, Anos wanted to convey a plan. He wanted to separate the races so that they could live in peace individually. He believed it would create security and peace between the races. However, Anos had to use his life to form a large magical energy. Kanon was shocked to hear that Anos was willing to die for peace. Anos said that in another 2,000 years he would definitely be reincarnated. Kanon believed Anos' words. Kanon then stepped forward and immediately stabbed Anos with his sword. The moment before the ritual began in another 2,000 years, Kanon would also be reincarnated, and they would have to become friends. After that, a giant magic wave appeared and created a powerful explosion. The world became peaceful. 2,000 years after that, Anos was born as a baby. Before his father and mother gave him a name, Anos gave his name directly to them, namely Anos Voldigode. The next day, Anos was deemed unfit to be the Demon King. He wondered if he had answered the question wrong on the aptitude test. Anos asked Misha what the name of the founding Demon King was. However, it turned out that the name could not be mentioned. Anos asked Misha to think about it, and Misha complied. Anos tried to read her mind. Anos was surprised because the name of the founding Demon King turned out to be Ovos Dilhivia. After that, Anos realized that after 2,000 years, his name had been pronounced incorrectly for generations. Sometime later, lessons started. Their teacher was a beautiful woman named Amelia Ludwell. Amelia said that she would divide the students into several teams. Anyone who wanted to be a team leader could raise their hand. However, the prospective team leader must be able to create a magic circle called Guise. This magic functioned to increase the combat power of all team members. After that, students who wanted to become chairman could raise their hands. Several people, including Anos, raised their hands. However, because Anos was labeled as mixed blood, Amelia said he should not be the team leader. Anos stood up and said that he would prove that mixed blood people were not weaker than pure blood. After that, he came forward and saw the Guise magic circle created by Amelia. He said that magic was not perfect. That was why Anos tampered with the magic circle. He could instantly turn it into a much more perfect magic circle. Amelia finally acknowledged Anos' strength and allowed him to volunteer as team leader. Not long after, a pure-blooded woman, Sasha Nekron, stood up and said that she would become a team leader. Anos asked Misha about the woman. It turned out that the two of them were sisters. However, for some reason, Misha became a mixed-blood witch. Next, Anos stood up and introduced himself. He said that the Demon King they had known and believed in was fake. A few moments later, the students were invited to choose which team leader they wanted. But the only person who joined Anos was Misha. Anos said if Misha wanted to join his sister, she could go. However, Misha said that she joined Anos because they were friends. Not long after, Sasha came to meet them. She said that Misha was a useless person and was only considered a magic doll. Anos immediately defended Misha. Sasha activated her destructive demon eyes. The other students were worried about Anos' safety. However, Anos was able to overcome the evil eye easily. A few moments later, Sasha left them. In the afternoon, when they came home from school, Anos and Misha were confronted by Sasha. Sasha challenged Anos to a duel. Anos accepted the challenge on the condition that if he won, Sasha had to join his team. However, if he lost, he must become Sasha's subordinate and must do everything Sasha orders. They both agreed, and that was when Sasha's evil eyes appeared again. After Sasha left, Anos asked Misha why Sasha used her evil eye. Misha answered that her sister's evil eye could suddenly activate when she was too excited. Anos thought that Sasha couldn't control her evil eye yet. 1 week passed and the battle between Sasha and Anos' team took place. The game was simple, namely the team leader must be the king and the team members must be able to protect him. If the king lost, the game would end. Sasha and the team members formed a magnificent castle in an area outside the forest. On the other hand, Anos told Misha his plan. At that moment, 3 castles immediately appeared from Anos' side. Sasha thought that it was the opposing team's way to trick them and buy them time. But they were shocked because at that moment, Anos walked alone to Sasha's castle. Not only that, Anos also heard the chat that Sasha was having with her team members. Not long after, Anos touched the castle wall. He could overturn that castle easily. Not only that, he also threw the castle far into the forest. Sasha and her team members inside the castle were battered. Not wanting to be outdone, Sasha decided for them to use a formation magic called Geo Graze. At first, the team members refused because the magic was very dangerous. However, Sasha said that that was the only way to beat Anos. They started forming formations and a giant cannon was created. Not long after, the giant cannon shot out an extremely powerful fireball. However, Anos launched a small fireball, which instantly destroyed the giant fireball. Not only that, Anos' small fireball continued to shoot, destroying Sasha and her team's formation. They were all battered and Sasha was defeated. Even though she initially refused, Sasha finally agreed to join Anos' team. That evening, Anos took Misha and Sasha home. His father and mother immediately became excited because they thought that Anos was carrying a potential second daughter-in-law. They then partied the same as the previous night. When the night was getting late, Anos took Misha and Sasha home. Over time, Misha and Sasha got along and walked hand in hand. When they got home, Misha went in first. Sasha thanked Anos for making her and her sister get along again, but Anos said he didn't do anything. A few moments later, Sasha kissed Anos. She said it was a friendly kiss. Sasha said that it was the first time she did it. Anos thanked Sasha for giving him her precious kiss. The next day during class, Amelia said that the students would be trained directly by one of the 7 demon emperor elders. Anos also asked who the 7 elder demon emperors were. Sasha told Anos that in the past, the founding demon king divided his power among 7 powerful witches who were his subordinates. Anos tried to remember that. He only found out that the 7 elder demon elders were still alive until now. They were the ones who founded the Demon King Academy. Not long after, one of the emperors of the elder demons, Ivis Necron, arrived. Anos immediately called Ivis casually and said that he hadn't seen him for a long time. Amelia apologized for Anos' impudence and said she would expel Anos. But Ivis didn't mind that. He turned to Anos and felt curious about him. It turned out that Ivis' memory was erased 2,000 years ago. Anos then came forward and touched Ivis' head. Anos created time reversal magic until he finally realized something. He said that he wanted to discuss something with Ivis later. Everyone was shocked by Anos' behavior, but Ivis wasn't angry at all. He went to class and started the lesson. When all the students were busy taking notes, Anos didn't seem to care because he already knew what Ivis was teaching. After class ended, Ivis met Anos. Ivis' memories of events 2,000 years ago had returned. However, Anos was still surprised because Ivis remembered his master's name as Avos Dilhade. Anos was curious about who had erased Ivis' memory. Anos suspected that the person who erased Ivis' memory was himself. Even so, Ivis would not immediately consider Anos as his master. Anos realized Ivis' alertness. When Ivis left, Anos thought who had spread the fake name Avos Dilhade. The next day, Amelia said that the students would explore the dungeon of the Dilhade Demon Castle. The teams must explore the castle and find various magic tools. Every magic tool found would give them additional value. The teams immediately entered the castle, while Anos seemed to be relaxing outside the castle. Sasha protested why Anos didn't rush in even though she wanted to look for the founding Demon King's scepter. Anos felt confident because Dilhade Castle was actually his own castle. They went along the castle because Anos led them to a dead end. But Anos immediately broke through the wall and walked through it. They arrived at a room and walked through it until finally they arrived in front of a gate covered with anti-magic. Even so, Anos opened the gate with his strength. They arrive at the room where the founding Demon King's scepter was kept. Sometime later, Anos took Misha to a room filled with valuable treasures. Misha was interested in a phoenix immortal cloak and wanted to give it to Sasha. They went to meet Sasha, who was still admiring the founding Demon King's scepter. Anos went to another room and let Sasha wear the phoenix immortal robe. However, when Anos returned to meet them, it turned out that Sasha had stabbed Misha. Sasha said that all this time she had only been pretending. She was not at all interested in Anos or Misha. Sasha stepped forward to attack Anos, but Anos blocked the attack. He had also succeeded in healing Misha from his stab wound. That was when Misha got up and asked Anos to let Sasha go. Anos complied and immediately stepped back. After Sasha left the room, Misha revealed her true identity. It turned out that all this time Misha was never there. She, who was currently standing in front of Anos, would disappear soon. Misha explained that on her 15th birthday, Misha would disappear. Back when Sasha was still in the womb, Ivis Necron performed spirit separation magic and created Sasha's magical twin, namely Misha. The goal was for both of them to grow with different magical powers. After 15 years, it would be combined again to create a stronger demon. After telling that, Misha and Anos chased Sasha. They could catch up with Sasha easily. That was when Sasha created a merging ritual, because soon they would be celebrating her 15th birthday. Sasha and Misha talked to each other. It turned out that Sasha really loved Misha all this time. She didn't want Misha to disappear. Therefore, she wanted Misha's soul to survive the merger. However, the condition was that Misha must kill Sasha. But of course, Misha didn't want to do it. Sasha asked Anos to kill her for Misha. But Anos didn't want to do it. Anos had a plan to save them both. He would use high-level magic to bring Misha's current soul to 15 years ago. This would give Misha a soul without having to separate the soul. That way, Misha would have a soul from the womb and she would be Sasha's real twin sister. However, because Anos would use the power of revived founder magic, Misha and Sasha had to demand the real founding Demon King Anos. Misha and Sasha agreed and the ritual began. But at that moment, Ivis suddenly appeared and stabbed Anos. He said that he would not let Anos carry out his plan. Ivis planned to combine Misha and Sasha to become a new vessel for the founding Demon King. However, Anos could not be killed in that way. He easily beat Ivis. Then Anos opened a portal to go to the time dimension with Revide. Anos, Misha, and Sasha arrived in the time dimension and met the guardian god of time named Hugo Laravias. Hugo didn't accept it because Anos wanted to play with time. Not long after, Hugo took Ivis' body and gave it power. Ivis got up and went berserk. He fought Anos, who he believed to be the false demon king. Ivis then stopped time so that Misha and Sasha could move, but Anos could still move. After that, Misha and Sasha's ritual was carried out. They both recognized Anos as the founding demon king, then Revide's power sent them back to the past. While supervising the ritual, Anos took the sword of the demon king founder, Venusdono, and immediately finished off Ivis. A few moments later, Anos revived Ivis. After he got up, Ivis immediately bowed and apologized. He already remembered that Anos was his master. Despite that, most of his memories were still missing. Anos suspected that the perpetrator was a figure who had long been revered as the founding demon king, namely Avos Dilhade. One of Ivo's subordinates must have made Ivis lose his memory. Anos asked Ivis to carry out an investigation. The first to be investigated were the other 7 demon emperor elders. Ivis agreed to Anos' requests and then left. A few moments later, Misha and Sasha's ritual was complete. Finally, they each had their own souls and could live their lives freely. Misha and Sasha hugged. Then Anos gave several birthday gifts to Misha, namely several rings that were in the castle earlier. The scene returned to the past where Anos was standing together with his subordinate, Shin Reglia. The two of them faced the original form of the great water spirit, Lignan. Shin said that Anos did need to come down to face Lignan. Anos said that if Shin could finish off Lignan with one attack, then he would reward him. Shin immediately stepped forward. With one attack, Shin managed to finish off Lignan. Anos praised Shin's talent and asked what Shin wanted. Shin asked to be able to do a resurrection. He wanted to be able to serve Anos in the future. Anos told Shin that he didn't have source magic, so that if he was reincarnated, he would have no memory of his previous life. Shin didn't mind this. Not long after, Kanon came to them. Anos admired Kanon's extraordinary abilities. The two of them fought fiercely. The scene returned to the present. During class, Amelia said that the founding Demon King's scepter found by Anos' team had been stolen. That was why Anos' team was only given a score of 70. Even though it was the Academy's fault, the fault was still given to Anos and his team. Anos then went to one of the pure-blooded students and took the founding scepter from his body. He then came to Amelia and handed it to her. Animus told her if she wanted to get the scepter stolen, she should have done it better. A while later, Amelia said that there would be a pure blood transfer student. The student was reportedly very good at using swordsmanship. Amelia also said that tomorrow, the students would be trained by the two best swordsmen in the academy, namely Gaius Anzim and Idol Anzio. After school, a girl named Misa Ilyarov met Anos, Misha, and Sasha. It turned out that the girl was an activist fighting for equality, which was called Unitarians. She took Anos and his team to go to headquarters. It turned out that there, a group of girls who worship Anos had gathered. They all wanted to be members of Anos' team. However, Anos said that they had to be able to prove themselves first. Later on, it was seen that the students were then trained by Gaius and Idol. They all had to pull out the magic swords from the ground. Among the students, only Anos and the transfer student managed to pull out the sword. Gaius and Idol immediately trained the two of them. Anos and the new student managed to defeat Gaius and Idol without much difficulty. When he saw the new student, Anos knew that he was Shin's reincarnation. While in the class, the new student came up to Anos and introduced himself as Lei Gransley. Lei said that he wanted to be a member of Anos' team. Amelia said that Lei was a pure blood noble and should be a member of his own team, but Lei didn't care about the blood separation of the demons. Anos apparently didn't allow Lei to join. However, if Lei managed to beat him in a team match, Anos would allow him to join his team. Anos asked the Unitarians to become members of Lei's temporary team. The next day, the match would soon take place. Lei treated female students gently. He didn't look at people by their blood status. Lei said that the founding Demon King never differentiated between human blood statuses. Lei himself also suspected that the founding Demon King that everyone had been talking about was someone else. On the other hand, Animus started his plan. He would fight Lei, while Sasha would fight the female students. Misha created a large castle easily. Not long after that, Animus and Sasha left. In an instant, Anos appeared in front of Lei, who was sitting relaxed. They chatted for a while. Anos realized that Lei was carrying a blunt sword. Lei said that he lent his sword to his team members. With Gaius' magic, he could temporarily transfer ownership of the sword. Not long after, a movable earthen castle appeared. It turned out that Lei lent his magic energy to the team members. Because Lei rarely used magic, the amount of magic was very abundant. Anos then took a piece of wood. He advanced against Lei, who instantly tore his sword. Meanwhile, Sasha fought against the Earth Castle. Anos ordered Misha and Sasha to use Geo Gray's magic. Despite their initial hesitation, they both ended up using the magic. A magic cannon appeared from Sasha's castle. Sasha created strengthening magic. The cannon was successfully fired, and in an instant, Lei's castle collapsed. Meanwhile, Lei fell after receiving an attack from Anos, but he immediately got up and continued fighting. Lei asked Anos to be serious because he would also be serious about fighting. On the other hand, the earthen castle rose again. Misha immediately came to Sasha's aid and immediately carried out a combined fire and ice attack. The attack was so powerful that it managed to defeat the opposing team. Meanwhile, Lei and Anos showed their real sword skills. Every wave of the sword was capable of releasing powerful energy that destroyed the surrounding area. Anos said that the forest was filled with magic and would recover overnight. Therefore, Anos said there was no need to hesitate to show off their abilities. They threw powerful attacks at each other and Anos finally won the battle. Lei finally acknowledged Anos' abilities. On the other hand, Anos praised Lei's strength. That was when Lei felt that he had known Anos. Anos also said that he had known someone like Lei 2,000 years ago. Anos finally accepted Lei as a member of his team. Sometime later, Amelia announced that a magic sword tournament would be held. Anos and Lei would take part in the tournament. Anos was suspicious that it was all a trap because the organizers couldn't allow half-blood witches to take part. Not long after, one of the elder demons who was a supporter of the Unitarians called Anos. He was Melhais Baran. As soon as he met Anos, Malvis immediately fell to his knees and cried. He said that his memory had been erased just like Ivis. Anos asked how far Melhais remembered events from the past. Maldi said that after Anos' sacrifice for the whole world, he suddenly woke up somewhere. When they returned to Delsgade, everyone already had memories of Avos Dilhivia. After that, Melhais asked Anos not to take part in the magic sword tournament because it seemed like it was a setup. Anos tried to think about that. In the evening, Anos returned home. It turned out that Misha was already there and was helping Anos' mother cook. While having dinner, they all discussed the magic sword tournament. At that time, his father was not there. He seemed to be preparing a magic sword for Anos. The next day, Anos took Misha for a walk. They then stopped at Cat Cafe. One day, Ivis, who transformed into a cat, came to Anos. He said that Melhais did not seem to be the main leader of the Unitarians. Other parties controlled the group. Ivis said that the ones organizing the tournament seemed to be Gaius and Idol. After chatting for a while, Ivis told Anos about the Lodnaroth Hospital, which was funded by the Ludwell family. Anos and Misha went to Lodnaroth Hospital, and they met Lei, who wanted to visit his mother, Sheila Gransley. Lei looked very gloomy. He refused the help of Anos, who wanted to cure his mother. Sometime later, the magic sword tournament was held. Anos met Ivis and said that melodies had nothing to do with the magic sword tournament. Anos then asked about Lodnaroth Hospital. Ivis said that Lei's mother had a spirit disease. Anos did not know this type of disease. Not long after, the tournament started. The first person to step forward was Kurt Ludwell of the Lodnaroth Magic Sword Association, Amelia's older brother. But at that point, Anos was still unsure whether he would advance or not. A few moments later, Anos' father came carrying a forged sword. Seeing his father's sincerity, he decided to go forward to fight. He would face all the traps if there were any. Anos confronted Kurt with the sword his father made. Kurt insulted Anos' cheap sword. He then launched various attacks on Anos. However, all of these attacks were easily repelled by Anos. In an instant, Anos attacked and managed to beat Kurt until he was black and blue. Anos won the first match without any difficulty at all. Anos then went to the waiting room. He looked out at Lei's match. It turned out he joined the same Lodnaroth witches as Kurt. Anos was curious why Lei did that. Sometime later, Lei came to see Anos. He didn't tell the reason why he joined Lodnaroth. Lei only said that he would beat Anos in the match. Anos and Lei fought each other in the waiting room, and Lei almost slashed Anos. Meanwhile, Anos almost crushed Lei's heart. Not long after, Lei left the room. Anos felt a strange magical contraction from within Lei's body. He realized that Lei's mother might have been held hostage so that Lei would join the Lodnaroth team. That same afternoon, Anos and Misha went to the room where Lei's mother was being treated. Misha said that Sheila was suffering from a spirit disease that was very difficult to cure. Not long after, Sheila opened her eyes. She recognized Anos and said that Lei always talked about him. Since childhood, Lei had been good at fighting. But over time, he became bored because he didn't have a balanced opponent that could fight him seriously. After Lei met Anos, he became very excited. Lei also told her about his defeat from Anos. He said so that Sheila could continue to be treated, Lei had to join Lodnaroth. Anos said that if he could cure her, then Lei would be free from the shackles of a noble family. After that, Anos and Misha tried to cure Sheila. Meanwhile, Anos' mother, Isabella, brought Anos' sword accompanied by students from Unitarians. On the way, they were confronted by Amelia. It turned out that Amelia hated half-blood witches. She tried to seize the sword that was in Isabella's hand. At that time, the students tried to protect her, but Amelia could easily defeat the students. That was when Anos came and surprised Amelia. Anos healed the injured students and thanked them. He promised not to forget their service in protecting his mother. After that, Anos grabbed Amelia's neck and took her away to the arena. He immediately stabbed Amelia until she was seriously injured. Anos said that he would save Amelia if she would recognize him as the founding demon king. Because she didn't want to get hurt, Amelia was forced to admit it. But instead, Anos killed Amelia and resurrected her. After he was resurrected, Amelia looked down on Anos. However, Anos said that currently, Amelia was a person of mixed blood. Anos had raised Amelia from the dead and made her a mixed blood. Amelia tried to kill herself, but Anos had planted the immortality curse. Amelia would not be able to kill herself and she would suffer forever. Then Anos left her alone. On the other hand, Lei went to the place where his mother was being treated. He stopped Misha because she almost died to save his mother. After Misha fainted, Lei went to his mother. His mother said that she was delighted to meet Lei. It turned out that Lei was not her biological child. Lei was found on the side of the road and rescued by Sheila. Not long after, Lei left the place. The final match began. Anos fought Lei in the arena. When the match started, they fought very fast and furiously. Lei, who recently looked gloomy, had become more enthusiastic. Meanwhile, Anos also seemed to be enjoying the match. After the match had gone on for a long time, it was time for the final attack. Lei and Anos ran forward and launched their attacks. Lei managed to slash Anos' left arm. Meanwhile, Anos managed to stab Lei in the heart. Not long after, Anos moved to a foreign dimension. He was visited by an owl who immediately turned into Melheis. Anos already suspected that Melheis was the mastermind behind all these incidents. Melheis said that Anos' current condition made him unable to fight. One of his arms was broken and Lei would not be able to help Anos. Melheis then summoned Gaios and Idol. The three of them are ready to finish off Anos. That was when Lei came and was able to finish off Gaios and Idol. Melheis was surprised to see Lei, who could still fight. Anos said that what was stabbed earlier was binding magic embedded in Lei's body. Once freed, Lei could get up and use origin magic and fight. That was when Melheis opened a portal and showed Sheila, who was being held captive. Lei immediately jumped to help his mother. Anos fought against Melheis. Even though his hand was cut off, Anos was still able to repel all of Melheis' attacks. Not long after, Anos flew and attacked Melheis. Because the situation began to reverse, Melheis hid in another dimension. Not long after, Anos said to Lei, who was in another place. He asked Lei to slash the room where Melheis was. Lei got up and slashed his sword. However, the sword was shattered into pieces. Lei was about to give up, but his mother asked him to get up. Her body turned into a sword. With this sword, Lei came forward again and slashed the room where Melheis was hiding. After that, Sheila faded and disappeared. Lei cried. However, Anos said that it was still too early to mourn. After that, Anos came to Melheis. He tried to kill Anos in various ways, but Anos managed to survive all attacks. In the end, Anos summoned his demon sword, Venasdono. Melheis tried to escape through a dimensional door, but Anos destroyed his way out. Anos walked over to Melheis, who fell helplessly. Melheis created thousands of dimensional doors, but Anos easily destroyed them all. Anos stabbed his sword into Melheis' head. He realized there was some kind of bug inside his brain that was controlling Melheis. He freed Melheis from the beast's influence. Once he was free and conscious, he apologized to his master. Melheis said that after he met Anos some time ago, he was attacked by an unknown creature. Since then, Melheis had been controlled. After that, Anos took Gaios and Idol there. Anos took 2 original magics from their bodies, which turned out to be covered in some kind of foreign magic. Not long after, the strange magic was dispelled and it was seen returning to a mysterious witch who had been waiting all along. Anos asked if the witch was Avos Dilhade, but the witch did not answer and immediately left them. After that, Anos returned to the arena together with Lei, who had fainted. He was declared the winner. Anos immediately treated Lei. Anos also resurrected Sheila. It turned out that Anos already knew how to restore the source magic of a half-demon, half-spirit like Sheila. The way to do this was by spreading the customs of spiritual beliefs to everyone. That way, Lei's mother could be resurrected. The conflict ended temporarily. Anos became the tournament champion and was awarded a magic sword. The magic sword tournament was officially closed. The next day, it turned out that Emilia had resigned and was replaced by Menno Historia. She said that the students would visit the Arklaniska Hero Academy in Azeshin. She explained that the heroes were a group of brave human knights who led human armies during the era of chaos. Unlike demons, heroes use slightly different magic when fighting. Anos immediately replied that the magic was called Asla. In essence, Hasla was like the demon's guise. The difference was that Jais was used by the leader to strengthen the team. However, Asla did the opposite, where all team members used their magic to strengthen the leader. If Jais could be used to build castles, then Asla was created to attack and destroy these castles. A few moments later, the day arrived when Anos and his friends visited the human world. They could still walk around the city, but Anos decided to go to Hero Academy together with Sasha. He wondered whether Kanon had been reincarnated in that era or not. At Hero Academy, they met a female student named Eleanor Bianca. Eleanor invited the 2 of them to tour. While walking around, Anos asked Eleanor who the founding Demon King defeated by Kanon. Eleanor answered that the Demon King's name was Avos Dilhade. A few moments later, Anos was told that Kanon had been reincarnated. But it was not like reincarnation in general. Kanon actually reincarnated into 4 different people. Sasha explained it was because he had the 7 magic sources. Each of these sources could have been born in a different body. However, in doing so, Anos became doubtful whether the 4 people had memories of the past or not. Not long after, one of Kanon's reincarnations named Ledriano Azeshin arrived. Not long after, another Kanon reincarnation named Rouse Gilfor appeared. Anos felt that they both had Kanon's original magic, but it was very small. Rouse suddenly attacked Anos, but with just the blink of an eye, Rouse was defeated and thrown away. Ledriano apologized for the incident. He then invited Rouse to leave. Sometime later, Eleanor asked whether Anos was a devil incarnate. Anos confirmed it. Before his death, Anos promised Kanon that they could be friends in the future. However, Eleanor reminded him that Kanon was not the same person as Anos used to know. After the death of the founding Demon King, Kanon was finally killed. Anos asked who killed Kanon. Eleanor answered that Kanon had been killed by a human. A few days later, a meeting between the 2 academies was held. The principal of Hero Academy, Diego Canonigesca, opened the event. As the first event, they would demonstrate the magic abilities of each student. Diego called Ledriano the Academy's second best student. Ledriano stepped forward and approached a table containing various kinds of equipment. He used Lidid's magic to turn the rusty knife into a very sharp sword. After that, Menno summoned the 3rd best student of the Devil Academy, Revis Aini. Revis stepped forward and practiced the demonization magic Nedra. He tried to control the little mouse on the table, but he couldn't do it. He became an object of ridicule for the Hero Academy. That was when Anos said something that Ledriano not only used lidded magic, but also antidote magic, Delinos. Because of that, he was able to stop the magic released by Revist. Anos stepped forward. He turned the animals and plants on the table into giant, terrifying monsters. Everyone was shocked to see Anos' action. But in an instant, Anos destroyed the two monsters. He also used lidded magic and turned the rusty knife into a holy sword. Seeing Anos' abilities, Diego was sure that Anos was the reincarnation of the founding Demon King. Anos confirmed Diego's words. However, students from the Demon King Academy, especially pureblood witches, immediately denied this. They all looked down on Anos, who was a half-blood witch. The next day, a match between the two academies was held. They would fight under a lake. The Hero Academy team was already preparing in the lake. Meanwhile, the Demon King Academy had not yet determined who would compete. Initially, Menno wanted to choose the Anos team, but Revist forbade her. He asked Menno to choose their team. Finally, Revist and his team advanced to the match. Revist and his team built a castle at the bottom of the lake and prepared to defend themselves. Meanwhile, Ledriano and his team would attack. As predicted, the Revist team couldn't communicate well with each other. His team was overwhelmed by attacks. Meanwhile, Anos realized what had happened. He told Menno that there was holy water mixed into the water in the lake, which had a bad effect on demons but not on humans. Sure enough, in just an instant, the Revist team was defeated. Diego didn't expect that the strength of the Demon King Academy was so weak. However, Sasha and the others were suspicious from the start. Rao said that they were only using the lake. He said if the students from the Demon Academy didn't like it, they could drain the lake. That was when Anos took action. He created a powerful magic in the air and threw it into the lake. In an instant, the lake exploded. When the explosion ended, the lake had become dry. Diego didn't accept it because the holy water that had been passed down from generation to generation just disappeared as a result of Anos' attack. But Anos and his team didn't care. They immediately went to the dry lake bed and prepared for the second round of the match. Rouse and his friends jumped into the lake and felt that the match would be even more interesting. Meanwhile, a mysterious woman was waiting in one corner of the lake. Anos launched a giant fireball magic at Rouse and the others. But the mysterious woman jumped up and slashed the attack away. Anos acknowledged the woman's powerful strength. Not long after, Anos asked Misha to create a giant castle. During the process, the Hero Academy team did not remain silent. That was when the woman appeared in front of Anos. Anos asked who the woman was, but Ledriano said that the woman couldn't speak. Ledriano introduced the woman as Zeshia Kananbianca. Zeshia was ranked first in Hero Academy, the first reincarnation of Kanon's fourth source magic. At that moment, Kanon's 4 reincarnations launched an attack which succeeded in binding Anos' body. However, Anos easily destroyed it while creating an explosion that destroyed the surrounding area. After the explosion, Kanon's 4 reincarnations were blown away in different directions. Reyes faced Sasha, while Lei fought one of the students who was good at swords. A fierce fight ensued. After a while, Sasha managed to defeat Rouse. But on the other hand, Lei seemed to be having difficulty facing his enemy. He was even able to take over 2 of the enemy's holy swords, which would otherwise have been impossible. With these 2 swords, he managed to defeat his enemy. On the other hand, Anos faced Ledriano, who had pretended to be dead. Ledriano was also assisted by Zeshia. The 2 of them fought against Anos, who was alone, but Anos was still much stronger than them. Because they were overwhelmed by Anos, Zeshia, and Raos finally tried Unification magic. They asked all of the humans to give their strength. Instantly, Ledriano became very strong. On the other hand, Anos was asked by his friends from the Unitarians to lend him their strength. With that strength, Anos could match Ledriano's strength. Because he didn't want to lose, Ledriano instilled magic into Anos' friends. He made them all turn to hate Anos, so they stopped channeling their power. Not long after, Zeshia stepped forward to launch the final attack. She jumped and stabbed herself right in front of Anos. Her body then exploded violently. But when the explosion ended, Anos was still able to survive. Not long after, Zeshia tried to move forward again and attack Anos. Anos was surprised because he was sure he had seen Zeshia destroyed. However, he immediately restrains Zeshia's body so that she wouldn't do anything dangerous again. That was when he heard Eleanor's voice asking Anos to go to the temple. Only he could defeat Zeshia if she got out of control. Anos asked Misha to go to the temple to meet Eleanor. When Misha went to the temple, she was confronted by Diego, who immediately attacked her. It turned out he hates demons. He brutally stabbed Misha's body until she was helpless. Luckily, Anos immediately appeared and stopped Diego. Anos instantly killed Diego and resurrected him. Anos asked him what the real purpose of Hero Academy was. Finally, Diego told the truth, namely to instill hatred towards the devils. Not long after, Anos used Nendra's magic to reveal Diego's true form. Diego immediately turned into a very terrible monster. They fought for a while, but Anos managed to defeat Diego. Anos immediately took Misha to where Eleanor was. When he arrived there, Anos was surprised to see Eleanor floating in a bubble. Anos asked who Eleanor was. Eleanor replied that she was magic. Eleanor said that she was created using forbidden magic. This magic could turn humans into magic. But before she answered this further, she had to remove the magic influence that Diego had implanted in Anos' friends. Anos had restrained them all with source magic. But if they continued like that, their source magic would explode. Eleanor said that she could handle it, but Anos must free her from the magic bubble. In an instant, Anos managed to destroy the giant magic bubble. After Eleanor was freed, the magic above the lake immediately disappeared. Sasha seemed to have returned to her previous condition. After all the problems were over, Eleanor came down and explained all about Hero Academy. Immediately, many magic bubbles stored human bodies. Anos just realized that the Hero Academy had done human cloning. Eleanor explained that the humans were created by force using her source magic. That was why when a human body was destroyed, the clones would immediately come and continue the fight. Eleanor said that this had been going on since 2,000 years ago by a soldier named Commander Jurga, who had a big grudge against the demon race. Anos remembered who Commander Jurga was. When the war was over, Commander Jurga's hatred did not disappear. Because he was afraid that humanity's grudge against demons would disappear, he built the Hero Academy. His actions were opposed by Kanan. Therefore, Kanan was killed by people he trusted. After that, Kanan never appeared again, and he was never reincarnated because he was fed up with humans. Eleanor asked Anos to kill her because she was fed up with all this. But not long after, Diego arrived with his troops. Anos knew that Diego was the result of cloning. Before they fight, an explosion occurred. Diego rushed over and saw what was happening. In the corridor leading to the magic sword's location were 3 people from the 7 demon emperor elders, along with a masked man who appeared in the arena yesterday. It turned out that the person's name was Avos Dilhade. He easily pulled out Hero Kanan's holy sword. Anos came and confronted Avos and 3 of the 7 demon emperor elders. Anos asked what Avos' goal was. Avos said that he was the demon king of tyranny who would destroy the whole world. Avos then released his magic attack. However, Anos managed to hold it, creating a very large explosion. When the explosion ended, Avos and his gang were gone. The situation became chaotic. Diego announced that the demon king of tyranny had risen again. He also declared war. Meanwhile, Avos began to appear and declared war on humans. Meanwhile, Anos met 4 of the 7 demon emperor elders who were still loyal to him. Anos said that he would deal with the problems that occurred and asked the elders to hand over the matter to him. But the elders refused. Not long after, Misha and Sasha appeared and said that they would help Anos. Anos and his friends then got together and made a plan. A few days later, Anos got ready to carry out his plan. The first plan was to prevent war between Avos' troops and Diego's troops. Whatever happens, they must be able to eliminate the influence of magic on humans, which causes great hatred in demons. Anos strongly requested that his friends not be killed. Everyone was ready in position. Ray and his troops were already hiding to attack the oncoming troops. On the other hand, Anos asked Melhes and the other elders to confront the 3 elders who were influenced by Avos. Meanwhile, he would fight directly with Avos. Anos went to a castle where Avos seemed to live. He beat up hundreds of soldiers who tried to restrain him. Not long after, 3 people from the 7 demon emperor elders appeared. Melhes asked Anos to leave the matter to him and the others. Anos then left the scene of the fight. A few moments later, Melhes managed to capture the 3 elders who had been influenced by Avos. Meanwhile, the castle where Avos was located turns out to be empty. Anos went looking for Avos. He found him in one of the areas in the forest. They fought using swords, and that was when Anos realized something. He was sure that Avos was Kanan. When Avos took off his mask, it turned out that the person was Lei. Lei turned out to be Kanan's reincarnation. After being killed by humans, Kanan became disgusted with humans. Moreover, humans made many mistakes and that disgusted him. Apart from that, his holy sword could also be used to cut fate. When Anos killed himself 2,000 years ago, Kanan also eliminated the destiny of Anos' reincarnation to the founding demon king. Because of this, Anos' name was forgotten. As time went by, the name Avos Dilhade appeared out of nowhere and began to be recognized as the founding demon king. He suspected that Kanan would fight in the name of Avos and die at the hands of humans. The hope was that the grudge between demons and humans could be resolved. Even so, Anos wouldn't let that happen to Kanan. He would stop Kanan and save him. On the other hand, Kanan would also stop Anos. To save him, they both fought. They fought fiercely and evenly, until Anos succeeded in destroying one of the source magic in Kanon's body. Receiving the wound, Kanon fell into the river there. But Kanon immediately got up again and took out his sword. He rushed forward and fought Anos very brutally. Anos was so pushed that he jumped into the air. That was when Anos launched a giant ball of fire magic downwards. Kanon shot up and slashed at the powerful attack. He continued to shoot upwards, targeting Anos. That was when he saw Anos wearing the Evo's mask. At the same time, Kanon stabbed Anos. The explosion in the air ended and everyone saw Kanon, who managed to defeat the founding demon king, Anos Voltigode. Anos told everyone to retreat and not continue the war. Kanon asked what Anos was doing, but Anos answered that he did what Kanon did. The humans cheered, seeing Kanon's success in killing the founding demon king. Anos fell and the war was stopped. However, Diego did not accept it and his hatred peaked. He jumped up, but unexpectedly his figure turned into a Commander Jurga. In giant form, he intended to finish off the demons. That was when Misha and Sasha shot up. With Ivis' help, they turned into very powerful demons. The battle was very fierce. Not long after, Commander Jurga raised 10,000 Zeshia. He pulled the girls into the air to help him. However, his efforts failed when suddenly, Anos came back to life. Commander Jurga was surprised that Anos was still alive. Anos said that he used the enemy's source magic agronomate to make his own source magic. Thus, he was able to return to life even though he was not at full strength. The fight continued. Anos, Kanon, and the combined figure of Sasha, Misha, and Ivis fought Commander Jurga in giant form. Commander Jurga then used the human's source magic to strengthen himself. To protect himself, Anos asked his friends to channel their power into him. Anos and Kanon united against Commander Jurga. With their combined strength, in the end, they all succeeded in defeating Commander Jurga. The battle finally ended. After the fight ended, Anos met Eleanor, who was still filled with feelings of guilt. Anos freed Eleanor from her shackles so that she could no longer be used by anyone. Anos also made Eleanor his magic. Finally, they were all able to return home. This is the end of Maou Gakuin Season 1. The scene began by telling the story of events 2,000 years ago in the Ahartern Forest, the place where spirits lived. After being offered a peace treaty by the demon king of tyranny, Great Spirit Reno would head to Dilhade to accept the treaty. Remembering that Anos Voltigode was the demon king of tyranny who was known for his cruelty, the fairies named Titi determined whether the Great Spirit Reno would go to Dilhade. They were afraid that Great Spirit Reno was being tricked. Suddenly, there was a very powerful explosion. It turned out that the explosion was caused by the arrival of Heavenly Father Nosgalia. The purpose of his visit was to ask Reno to conceive God's child. Nosgalia intended to make the child a tool to destroy the demon king of tyranny, but Reno refused. She tried to launch an attack in the form of a tree root that pierced Nosgalia's body. Nosgalia remained calm and said to obey him because God's will was absolute. Just as Nosgalia said, the roots that were piercing his body came loose and instead attacked Reno. Because Reno couldn't move anymore, Nosgalia gave her the seeds through the tree roots. But right before he put the seeds in, suddenly Anos came and used Geograze, which immediately hit Nosgalia. Even though the opponent was a god, if any sound or thing was taken away by the plundering sword, it was certain that it would not return. Using a curse magic called Degzade, Nosgalia slowly disappeared, consumed by a black curse. Seeing Anos' actions in saving her, Reno became convinced to accept the world peace agreement. For the safety of Great Spirit Reno, Anos asked Shin, his right hand, to protect Reno. Initially, Reno refused, but in the end, she accepted him. Shin finally succeeded in bringing Reno to Dilhade. The four of them, Anos, Goddess of Creation, Militia, Great Spirit, Reno, and Kanon, combined their powers to create a wall of four worlds called Bino Levin. Shin's final task after Anos died was to escort Reno back to the Ahartern Forest. But when he got there, Titi appeared and said that the spirits had been eaten by the heavenly beasts. At the same time, when Shin was slaughtering, the heavenly beasts felt someone's presence. Shin threatened the man to reveal himself, otherwise he would be slaughtered. Not long afterwards, a boy named Anos Poltikol appeared. After the devastating battle involving the Azizian and Dilhade residents in Season 1, Anos and his friends returned to school. When he returned to class, Mino-sensei introduced the new students, namely Eleanor Bianca and Zeshia Bianca. They looked down on Eleanor and Zeshia because they were humans and they had started a war with the demon race. Mino-sensei also introduced a new teacher named Eldmund Itigen. Eldmund was a demon who originated 2,000 years ago. He was one of the four evil kings. Four evil kings were second only to the demon king of tyranny. Considering that Eldmund was not a descendant of the demon king of tyranny, the nobles immediately looked down on him. Without further ado, Eldman said that Avos Dilhade was a fake demon king. Meanwhile, the real demon king was Anos Voldegode, who was sitting in this class. At first, the noble students thought this new teacher was crazy, but all that immediately changed when they saw Zek's magic or contract magic that had been signed by the 7 demon emperor elders, which said that the demon king of tyranny was Anos Voldegode. Not long after that, Eldman told Anos to come forward and invited him to speak. But before that, Eldman removed all the tables and chairs so that they could all bow respectfully to the demon king of tyranny. All the nobles and purebloods were forced to submit by Eldman. However, Anos soon returned all the tables and chairs because he didn't care if the people there believed him or not. While walking towards the table, Anos praised Eldman for not acting too badly. He knew that Eldman was Nosgalia. It turned out that inside Eldman's body there was Nosgalia, Heavenly Father. However, because Eldman did make a scene, there was no reason for Anos to fight him. In short, Nosgalia told about the laws of the universe where everything had been regulated by the gods. In the mythological era, all life was almost extinct and the world was almost destroyed. All of this was caused by the goddess of destruction, Abernu. However, to prevent the destruction of the world, the demon king of tyranny fought against her and then turned her into a place called Delsgate. He also transformed her power into a sword of destruction called Venusdono. Because Anos had destroyed the world order under world law, the gods decided to create a new law to destroy the demon king of tyranny. The new law in question was the emergence of a god-child. What was surprising was that the child of God, who was given the task of killing the demon king of tyranny, was in this academy. However, there was a student who doubted his words. Hearing this, Nosgalia was annoyed and wanted to say that all God's laws were absolute. But once again, Anos plunged his sword into the heart of Nosgalia because all the laws and orders of the gods did not apply to Venusdono. After killing Nosgalia, Anos restored Nosgalia's past with a grown-up magic. Because if Nosgalia died, then the world would also be destroyed, considering that gods were the foundation of the formation of a world. But Anos managed to limit Nosgalia's power, and only 10% could be used. After that, Nosgalia got up and started acting like a normal teacher. The break bell rang. Responding to the child of God, who was going to kill Anos, Sasha, Misha, and the others wanted to find the whereabouts of the child of God in question. Even though Anos' strength was beyond reason, there was no harm in being careful considering that their enemy was the child of God. Briefly, they all started searching for the child of God in the academy. However, at the same time, Eleanor received a call from Ledriano that he had found an artifact left by Commander Jurga. Hearing this, Eleanor and Zeshia immediately went to where Ledriano was. After searching here and there, Lei and Misa couldn't find the child of God in question. At the same time, while Lei and Misa were having fun together, there was a student named Jared Azwilma who was assigned to give half of Misa's father's sword. But unexpectedly, when he got there, Jared immediately stabbed Misha in the chest. On the other hand, Anos met with the Anos Fan Union to discuss tomorrow's Demon King announcement event. Anos asked them to perform a new song, and they were all excited to make it. At the same time, Sasha, who used telepathic magic, said that Revis had been attacked by Linka Thyrnus. Even worse, Mino-sensei had also been kidnapped by Linka. Luckily, Revis had time to cast Endoing magic, which made it easier for them to track Linka's whereabouts. Without further ado, Sasha and Misha immediately chased Linka. When Anos entered a room, he saw a helpless Melhise. When Anos wanted to revive him, Nosgalia's subordinate, Zeke Ozma, tried to thwart him. Using long-range projection magic, Limnit and Zeke showed the condition of Anos' friends. Sasha and Misha faced Linka, Aegis Code's servant, Eleanor and Zeshia, who would fight against Zaburogaez, Grizzlus Darrow's aide, and Misa, who was stabbed by Jurad Kaihilam Gist's servant. Because Zeke knew that if he competed with Anos, he would lose, so he challenged Anos to a battle of intelligence. Zeke also invited Anos to guess who the real child of God was. Zeke allowed Anos to ask 18 questions, and Zeke would answer the questions correctly or incorrectly. But Zeke had the right to lie once or give a false answer to one question. If Anos succeeded in guessing the identity of the child of God, then he would win and Zeke's mana would be sealed for 5 seconds. However, if Anos could not guess who the child of God was, then Anos' mana would be sealed for 5 seconds. All this was aimed at preventing Anos from bringing Melhise back to life. The next rule was that attacking was prohibited while the game was starting and those who retreated would be declared defeated. However, Anos' bargain only had 9 questions. Once the two agreed, they started the contract magic called Zect activated. While playing the game, the projection would be divided into several parts. Because there was still limit magic that provided long-range projection, Zeke deliberately displayed it to give Anos a clue as to who the real child of God was. After successfully stabbing Misa, Dilhade said that he was ordered by his master to take Misa's source magic as the child of the great spirit Reno. With Misa's source magic, he could control all existing spirits. But strangely, even though the sword had penetrated the body, Misa's body was strangely not penetrated thanks to a unique sword called Siesta. Without wasting much time, Dilhade immediately took out his sword and shield. Dilhade's genius magic shield could return attacks to those who attack him. When Lei attacked Dilhade, it meant Lei was attacking himself. As soon as Lei made the first smash on Genius' shield, his magic source was destroyed by one piece. Instantly, Lei immediately fell unconscious. Dilhade explained that to destroy Genius' shield meant he must destroy 4 gems. But at the same time, when the gem was destroyed, the attacker's source magic would also be destroyed. In other words, it took 4 source magic to break Genius' shield. Considering that Lei or Canon had 7 source magic, for him losing 4 source magic would not be a problem. Seeing Evan's Mana's sword made Dilhade realize that Lei was originally the reincarnation of Canon, the only human who had 7 source magic. Even the Demon King of Tyranny, who had immense power, couldn't kill Canon at all. When Dilhade was dying, Lei asked how Dilhade could get half of Mrs. Father's sword. But before he answered, Dilhade killed himself and reincarnated himself. From this, it could be concluded that Misa could be the child of God. Meanwhile, after successfully defeating Ledriano and friends, Zaburo would immediately fight against Eleanor and Zeshia. Zaburo explained that Eleanor's birth was God's plan to create a vessel for the child of God. The godchild container in question was Zeshia. Feeling interested in conducting research on Zeshia, without thinking, Zaburo immediately attacked her using Anno's upgraded Agrum 2.0 magic. Zaburo turned the people around him into zombies. If they attacked, they would damage the zombies' source magic down to its roots. Because there was no other choice, Eleanor and Zeshia immediately looked for the source of that power. After searching here and there, they found a giant red inscription stone. However, when Eleanor and Zeshia approached the stone, their mana and magic powers immediately disappeared. Using Ask Magic, Eleanor tried to absorb the power of hope from people. However, Zaburo quickly said that zombies had no hope. Considering that Eleanor was born to create source magic and created Zeshia, she could create or manipulate source magic herself. But of course, Eleanor shouldn't have been able to do that. But since Animus changed Eleanor's source magic into Animus magic, it allowed her to use his true power. Once the power of hope had been gathered, Eleanor could easily destroy the red stone inscription. She also healed people who had become zombies using Theo Engel's magic. From this, it could be concluded that Zeshia also had the potential to be a child of God. On the other hand, after successfully chasing Mina Sensei, Sasha and Misha were confronted by Linka as the servant of the King of Hell. Considering that Linka was a demon from 2,000 years ago, there was certainly no doubt about Linka's combat strength. Before the battle, Linka explained that Misha and Sasha's lives were the intervention of the gods, where Ivis, one of the 7 demon emperor elders, deliberately used Dinojix's magic to create a vessel for the demon king. Or it could be the other way around, that Ivis's goal was to create a vessel for the child of God. Using Iris magic or creation magic, Misha immediately created a demon castle around her, which functioned to gain power. Even though it was not very big, it was not bad for increasing her strength. Sasha took out a cannon to cast Black Sun magic or Geo Graze. But even so, Linka could easily defeat them both. When Linka was about to execute Sasha, suddenly there were magic particles that blocked her. Even though Shibigarmus, Linka's freeform sword, could not be parried with ordinary magic. It didn't stop there. As soon as Linka looked up, there was a replica of Delsgate or the Demon King's castle. Even though it should be very difficult for a demon to replicate the demon castle, Delsgate itself was the embodiment of the god of destruction. In other words, what Misha was doing was replicating a god. As soon as the Demon King's castle was taken out, Misha immediately destroyed Linka by freezing her. She then approached Sasha to treat her. Seeing Misha's strength, she also had the potential to become a child of God, or Misha was a god herself. After seeing the excellent action of his friends, Anos continued the game, namely with the possibility that the child of God was one of his friends. He guessed that Misha, Sasha, and Zeshia were child of God, but Zeke answered that all of Anos' guesses were wrong. Anos then said again that Misa was the child of God, and Zeke confirmed it. Anos guessed that she had destructive eyes again. Zeke confirmed it. If only the child of God had the eye of destruction, then Sasha had the potential to become a child of God. Or it could be that the combination of Misha and Sasha was the child of God, just like in Season 1. Anos guessed that the child of God was not a complete demon, but was half demon and half spirit. But Zeke said that was wrong. Anos guessed that the child of God was Eleanor, but Zeke said he was wrong. Anos was confused because none of them were true, and Zeke laughed. That was why from the start of the game, when Anos accepted the game deal, it meant that Anos was already in his hands. To circumvent Zek's contract magic, Zeke implanted himself with several false memories. For example, he implanted the memory that fire was cold, so when Anos answered that fire was hot, the answer would automatically be wrong. Because Anos had lost, Anos' magic and mana would be frozen for 5 seconds. Without wasting much time, Zeke immediately destroyed Melhi's source magic. But when he saw Anos, he was surprised because Anos could still move. But in the end, Zeke was still able to kill Melhi's and compete with Anos, even though he used cunning methods. Thanks to studying Eleanor's magic and the creation of source magic, Anos was able to manipulate and replace Melhi's source magic, who had been killed by Zeke. As soon as Zeke wanted to commit suicide, Anos quickly turned him into an owl. This way Zeke couldn't tell lies anymore. After interrogation, it turned out that Zeke's original intention was to reduce the Demon King of Tyranny's power, even if only a little rather than nothing at all. After all the fighting was over, they gathered to where Anos was. Maldi said that the real Demon King proclamation ceremony should be held immediately. Until now, all the people of Azesian still believe that the Demon King of Tyranny was Avos Dilhivia, and not Anos Voldigode. What was even more surprising was that Shin, Anos' right hand, was known to be still alive. This statement was made clear when they gave Shin's sword to Anos. When the pieces of the sword were combined, the sword turned into Gilliam's plunderer's sword. The Gilliam's sword belonged to Shin, and that also meant Shin was Misa's father. However, an oddity emerged. Anos questioned why Shin did not immediately meet him, even though Shin was very loyal to his master. Maldi said that Shin was in the Heartern Forest. Maybe the reason Shin didn't want to meet Anos directly was because he was under pressure or was being blocked. Apart from that problem, Melhis was more worried about Anos' undetected magic. Anos explained that it was because he had made an underground city for his 10,000 children named Zeshia. Remembering that Nosgalia always kept his promises, Anos asked the 7 demon emperor elders to hold a lesson in the Ahartern Forest. Apart from finding the truth and meeting Shin, Anos' goal in inviting Nosgalia was to monitor him so he didn't mess with the demon race. Without further ado, after being given a mandate by the demon leader, Nosgalia, as their teacher, immediately invited his students to the Ahartern Forest. However, to enter the forest, they had to carry out several rituals based on existing rumors, considering that the Great Spirit Forest was created from a belief. When a mysterious mist covered the plains of Rishalis, there would be a spirit fairy named Titi who wandered around the mist. If they could make Titi laugh, they would show them and open the entrance to the Ahartern Forest. All of that would happen within 10 days. However, what Nosgalia said earlier was just some rumors. Anos then divided his team to investigate the rumors that had spread. On the way, Sasha confirmed whether Misha or she was the child of God, remembering that Misha could create the Delsgate Castle or the God of Destruction. Meanwhile, Sasha had the Eyes of Destruction, just like Zeke said. Because he didn't want to take it too seriously, Anos thought it was all natural, because they were his descendants or Anos' subordinates. When Anos finished speaking, he heard a commotion between several sellers and a mysterious woman. These sellers were emotional because this mysterious woman told everyone that they had committed fraud. They also argued that the woman was also a fraud. She had spread rumors about the location of the unknown Ahartern Forest. Because they couldn't hold back their emotions, they wanted to immediately teach the deceptive woman a lesson. But Anos quickly came and protected her. After being saved by Anos, the mysterious woman was grateful. The woman's name was Rena, who apparently had memory loss. But even so, she still clearly remembered that Ahartern Forest was real. Strangely, even though Anos had used his evil eye, he still couldn't see Rena's real face. Anos thought he didn't want to waste energy and asked Rena about the rumors and the way to Ahartern Forest. Anos would grant all her wishes if Rena wanted to tell him about it. However, Rena said that she asked to be taken into the Great Spirit Forest. Anos agreed. Just as Nosgalia said, the rumor and ritual to enter the Ahartern Forest was to wait for the fog to come and cover the Rishalis Plain. Rena said that this fog would occur when there was a solar eclipse. Instead of waiting for a new solar eclipse to occur in 10 days, Anos used the power of Igunias to shift the moon and immediately create a solar eclipse phenomenon. The atmosphere immediately became dark. As expected, a thick fog appeared and covered the Rishalis Plain. But strangely, even though Anos' magic was beyond reason and defied the laws of nature, Rena didn't seem at all surprised to see Anos' strength. Rena felt that she had seen that magic before. Not long after, Tinny appeared in front of them. Misha and Lei tried to tell them jokes to make them laugh. But instead of making a joke, Misha and Lei looked like they were having fun making out under the solar eclipse in front of everyone. Eleanor asked Zeshia to imitate Sasha in a silly way. But of all the jokes, there was absolutely nothing that could make Titty laugh. Not long after, Fan Union came. They came there because they wanted to tell Anos that they had bought a magic wand. When Anos asked what stick it was, they all answered it was Anos' stick. Immediately, Anos felt disgusted and said that they were all crazy. Unexpectedly, this made Tiddy laugh. Because all the rituals had been fulfilled, Tiddy immediately opened the door to the Great Spirit Forest. While on the way, Anos asked them if there was a demon named Shin Reglia, but they all didn't know who Shin was. However, for demons from 2,000 years ago, some of them were in the forest. Realizing that Rena was a spirit, Tiddy immediately approached her. However, Tiddy was surprised and said that Rena was similar to the Great Spirit Reno. But not only Rena, Tiddy felt that Misha also smelled similar to Great Spirit Reno. However, it was very unfortunate that the Great Spirit Reno died 2,000 years ago. When Misa asked who the husband or father of Great Spirit Reno's child was, Tiddy immediately panicked and was afraid. The Spirit King had ordered all the spirits to keep it a secret. After walking for a while, they all arrived at the Inunion, the Great Tree of Learning, which was a school place, a spirit school. In that school, there was a Scarlet Steel King named Grizzlus Darrow. When Eleonora and Zeshia looked at him hatefully, Grizzlus said that he didn't order Zaburo to attack them. Same with the other 4 evil kings. Other members of the 4 evil kings were also there, namely Kahilum Gist as the Cursed King and also Aegis Code as the Netherworld King. While the 4 evil kings, Aegis was the person who had worked together with Anos. He also emphasized that all of this was the work of the Spirit King. As soon as the bell rang, Rena spontaneously said that Inunion's class bell had rung. Not long after, the self-awareness of the Inunion tree revealed itself. At the same time, the school door also disappeared. That indicated they had been trapped inside the Inunion tree. In short, to be able to leave, they all had to pass a test. Anyone who could pass the test had a chance to meet the Spirit King. Not only that, if Anos wanted to meet Shin, the Spirit King would grant it. However, violence and cheating were strictly prohibited at this school. Anyone who violated would be eaten by the long snake Apikyo. Anos and his team immediately volunteered to take all the exams. If Anos won, then Grizzlus must reveal the name of his superior. However, if Anos lost, Grizzlus could take Anos' source magic. Once they all agreed, Zek's contract magic was activated. There was still 1 week before the exam started. Anos was brave enough to bet his source magic because he knew there was someone on his team who knew the spirit world well. That person was Rena. Anos knew that Rena knew about the spirit world well when she said that it was the Inunion tree even before the tree showed its true form. This indicated that Rena was a native of the Ahartern forest. Anos used memory magic and Rena began to remember a little about her past. Her clearest memory was that she had to meet the Spirit King soon. But before that, they all had to pass the test. After that, Rena took Anos and the others to the Forest of Books, which contained all the knowledge about the Great Spirit, the Forest of Spirits and its spirits. By using Igunians, Anos read hundreds of books at the same time. Strangely, in all the books Anos read, he found no information at all about Rena. But Anos discovered something odd. There was a torn paper on the page that discussed Love Fairy Fran. Love Fairy Fran was a fairy who gave a form to people who had failed or had never expressed love and aimed to determine and convey the expression of their love. When using revived magic or time magic, the paper on the book could not be returned at all. That meant the paper in the book was torn exactly 2,000 years ago. Anos could tell that because revived magic only worked a maximum of 1,000 years into the past. Before long, 1 week passed. As Inunion agreed, the Great Tree of Learning would hold school exams. Time passed and all the students had finished their school exams. From the test results, the 4 evil kings got 80 points and above. Meanwhile, Anos' team got a score of 100 and above. Zeshia could even reach a score of 150. After Grizzlus checked the answers, all of Zeshia's answers were beyond reason, and there should be many that were wrong. However, all this absurdity didn't apply when Dilhade or Venusdono's sword was present to accompany them all. Anos summoned Venusdono's sword because he knew that Grizzlus had cheated. He used the spirit book to change the participants' questions, so answers and questions were never in sync. Of course, everything Grizzlus did was also supported by insiders. Because he had lost, he had to keep his promise to tell his superior's name. Unexpectedly, it turned out that the person who helped him cheat was the Spirit King himself. It was possible that the Spirit King hated Anos. Continuing yesterday's school exam, the Great Tree of Learning allowed all students to take the next exam. At the same time, Melhis, as one of the 7 Demon Emperor Elders, intended to say that Avos Dilhevia was the fake Demon King of Tyranny in Dilhade. However, to prevent unwanted things, Anos asked Melhis to hide and asked other person to announce it. The next test was related to luck. There were 20 stairs to climb headed to the Spirit King's castle. Meanwhile, there were only 5 correct ladders. That meant there were only 5 people who would pass the test and meet the Spirit King. If they got a ladder with an upward path, then they got the right ladder. However, if they got a ladder with a downward path, then they got the wrong ladder. In this exam, they were not permitted to use teleportation magic or any actions that damaged the facilities unless it was part of the exam. Anos had to think of another way because he already felt that Grizzlus would definitely cheat. Anos could have used Venusdono's sword to pass the test this time, but that was what Grizzlus and the Spirit King wanted. From the start, they actually wanted to reduce Anos' mana and magic, even though the amount wasn't much. Moreover, summoning Venusdono's sword used a large amount of mana. As soon as Inunin gave the signal to start the exam, the Spirit School exam began. Without further delay, Anos immediately used magic to turn everyone into him. He felt that the Spirit King or all the spirits in the Hardern Forest wanted him to fail. At first, Inunin didn't allow Anos to do that. Moreover, Inunin never wanted to cheat when it came to school exams and education. Long ago, when the Great Spirit Reno was in danger, the spirits did everything, including cunning ways to protect the Great Spirit Reno. Inunin could cheat if it wanted to protect the Spirit King, even though it would be against its principles. After knowing all the facts, Inunin allowed Anos to do this. Briefly, they all went through the stairs and entered the room in question. Those who managed to get the correct room were Lei, Misa, Aegis Code, Grizzlus Darrow, and Anos. It wasn't because of luck that Anos was able to get the right ladder. Anos had changed and divided his source magic power into 16 parts. That meant if one of the Fan Unions chose the right path, then Anos could move to the person who chose the correct ladder. The magic that Anos used was not teleportation magic, but the root of source magic, which was broken down into 16 parts. Ellen Mahace, a member of the Fan Union, chose the correct ladder. Because she'd had chosen the correct ladder, Anos immediately fused his 16 source magic into one piece. Finally, Ellen's body would change into Anos' body. But unexpectedly, even though she chose the wrong path, Rena managed to enter via the same stairs as Anos. Rena said that even though she chose the wrong one, at every door there was a secret staircase. Knowing this, Anos used Leek's magic, immediately telling Sasha and the others that there was a secret passage. On the way up, Rena noticed another secret door. Without thinking, the two of them immediately entered the door. They saw a field of colorful flowers and a sword on a tombstone. It made Rena immediately cry. Rena said that she often went to that place. As she approached the sword that was stuck, Rena became even more convinced that she had to meet the Spirit King immediately. Using his magic eye, Anos realized that someone beside them was there. It turned out that person was Kahilam, the Cursed King. It was not surprising that Gist was also waiting for Animus to arrive. Because the flower field was free from the Spirit King's supervision, Gist wanted to tell him the whole truth. Anos was surprised to hear a woman's voice from Kahilam's body. Kahilam explained that in Kahilam's body, there were two personalities. Kahilam was the male personality, the original owner of the Cursed King, while Gist was the female personality, Kahilam's girlfriend. Gist explained that the real Cursed King was currently being hidden by the Spirit King. The reason the Spirit King's men attacked Anos was because his master was being held hostage. Jirad was also ordered by the Spirit King to attack Animus' team. Likewise, with the Netherworld King Aegis, whose subordinates had also been taken hostage by the Spirit King. That explained why Aegis was also trapped here. Even though Gist and Anos were not close, Gist, as his lover, asked Anos to save her lover, Kahilam. Gist also showed Anos the form of the Spirit King. This reminded Anos of Avos Dilhade, who intervened in the sword tournament at the academy. On the other hand, to cut down on time, Lei immediately carried Misa. As soon as they reached the top, the Shadow Wolf General immediately allowed them to go inside. That meant Misa and Lei had passed the test. After they entered the door, they could see a castle floating in the sky. As soon as they entered the castle, they met the Spirit King, commonly known as Avos Dilhade. Lei asked him why the Spirit King attacked Anos and his team. However, to ask questions, participants were required to fight using the Spirit Sword against the Spirit King. The rule was that participants must be able to damage the Spirit King's mask. Weapons other than spirit swords and magic were prohibited. Lei immediately took the spirit sword that was in front of him. As soon as Lei raised his sword, his battle with the Spirit King began. After fighting for a while, Lei was sure that the person was someone from 2,000 years ago. Lei guessed because the spirit knew that Lei had 7 source magic and understood almost all the attack patterns used by Lei. Considering that Misa had spirit power in her body, it meant Misa could participate in this fight. As soon as Misa released her power, it immediately caused her body to change into its original form. Because Misa was the child of the Great Spirit Reno, behind her body there were also several swords. But instead of continuing the fight, Lei and Misa end up making out in the middle of the battle. A fierce battle ensued between Lei, assisted by Misa, and also the Spirit King. The The Spirit King already memorized all the attack patterns used by Lei, but this time he received a fairly heavy attack from Lei. It turned out that Lei used Theo Torero's magic, or the power of love. 2,000 years ago, Lei didn't have a partner and he couldn't use that magic. The Spirit King did not keep his word and broke his promise. As soon as he was cut, the Spirit King immediately recovered his mask. The Spirit King quickly restrained Lei and sealed him into a crystal. The Spirit King was indeed taking a stance to finish off Lei, but he stabbed Misa instead. On the other hand, Anos and Rina met General and Aegis. In contrast to Misa and Lei, who were immediately allowed to enter, General said that to get through the door, they had to be able to catch him. Anos thought it was easy to catch it. However, because General was a shadow wolf, it could not be seen with ordinary sight. Aegis and Anos, who previously worked together, and Aegis' subordinates, who were taken hostage by the Spirit King, invited Anos to work together through telepathic magic or leaks. Instead, if they could survive, Aegis asked Anos to save his men. Using his signature move, namely turning blood into a weapon, Aegis immediately attacked the shadow wolf blindly. However, because the wolf's body was a shadow, its body would continue to regenerate even though it had been attacked. When General released a bright light from the sky, Rina immediately disappeared. However, seeing that, Anos knew how to catch General, which was to close his eyes. That was because General lived in the shadows and darkness. When Aegis was busy taking care of the guard wolves, Anos, with the power of Igunias, managed to capture General. As soon as the exam was finished, General immediately invited Anos to enter. But because Rina and Aegis hadn't managed to catch him, to get through the door, they had to catch him first. When Anos entered the castle, Anos did not meet the Spirit King, but Grisalis. Grisalis said that his appearance was part of a test. This exam was a magic contest that was fair, good, and true. Grisalis had prepared several stone seeds containing mana for magic. Each of them was only allowed to use magic that came from the inscription stone. As an experiment, Anos immediately used 4 stones to attack Grisalis. However, by using just 1 stone, Grisalis was able to repel Anos' attack. Grisalis proudly said that his research and the power of the ancient magic he researched was closer to the abyss of magic, or in other words, Grisalis' ancient magic was much stronger than the Demon King of Tyranny's magic. Without further ado, using the remaining stones, Grisalis immediately attacked Anos and destroyed the Spirit King's castle. Even though only 1 inscription stone remained, Anos' power was capable of unleashing power that was beyond reason. It wasn't because of the power that came from himself. Anos really used mana from the stone steel. Firstly, almost all of Anos' magic was original magic or developed by himself. So it could be said that Anos' magic had very high efficiency compared to Grisalis. By spending a little mana, the resulting power was no joke. This was different from the ancient magic used by Grisalis, which limited mana so that it didn't release too much mana. Even though they were both called efficient, ancient magic had its own limitations. To put it simply, ancient magic was very efficient, while Anos' magic was far above efficient. This meant that ancient magic was ancient writing magic or magic used by magic elders long before Anos was born. As soon as he entered the castle, Anos immediately took Lei out of the crystal and immediately healed him. Lei was also convinced that the Spirit King was actually Shin. As far as the afterlife was concerned, the only one who had sword techniques beyond reason was Shin. At the same time, when he said that Sasha was seen running away in panic while saying that Avos Dilhade had appeared in Dilhade. Avos Dilhade also said that he wanted to destroy mixed-blood people and wanted to kill people who were not worthy, namely Anos. Without further ado, using a temporary body, Anos immediately went to the Demon King's castle or Dilhade. As soon as he got there, Anos said that was her true form to Misa. Misa smiled. Misa was a spirit formed from the rumors and traditions of the Demon King of Tyranny. After the appearance of Avos Dilhade, without further ado, Anos immediately went to Dilhade using his shadow. Anos didn't use teleportation magic because the area around Dilhade was blocked by a kekai or barrier. Once there, Anos was immediately greeted by Misa, who had changed into Avos Dilhade. In contrast to Anos, who wanted peace, Avos Dilhade was arguably the most worthy of holding the title of Demon King of Tyranny. Even though they were members of the demon race, Avos Dilhade wanted to eradicate all residents in Dilhade who were of mixed blood. In other words, the devils who were worthy to live in Dilhade were only pure blood or nobles. Anos immediately stated his prediction. Firstly, a spirit was formed and had the same powers as their rumors. If it was rumored to be the Demon King of Tyranny, then it could also have the same power as the Demon King of Tyranny. But the power she obtained was only limited to rumors or knowledge that had been circulating, or it could be said as imaginary Demon King. In other words, the rumors referred to here were knowledge or from people's points of view. A simple analogy was that, for example, people thought that the demon king of tyranny was cruel, dressed in dark clothes, and had evil eyes, then Misa or Evo's power or identity was only limited to being cruel, dressed in dark clothes, and having evil eyes. Anos had never released 100% of his true strength, at least in the last 2,000 years. Rumor had it that a cruel man dressed in dark clothes with evil eyes was only 1% of her true strength. In essence, Misa's strength was only 1% or even less when compared to Anos Voldigode. The reason why Zeke in Season 1 intended to kill Melhise was to prevent him from spreading the news that Avos Dilhade was a false demon king of tyranny. If Melhise spread the news, then the rumors about Avos Dilhade would disappear. If it disappeared, then the existence of Misa and Elvos would never exist. Remember that in order to live, the spirit must maintain its rumors. Until now, Misa or Elvos could not kill Anos because his power was beyond reason, and Anos could even defy the roots of world law. Because Anos could defy world law to destroy or kill Anos, they needed a tool that could destroy world law. The answer was Venus Dano's sword, but currently Misa was gathering strength while waiting for Venus Dano's sword to gain its true power. So far, the power of Venus Dano's sword had been limited by Anos. Even though it was limited, the sword could destroy cause and effect or the laws that exist in the world. Because Anos kept talking, one of the 7 demon emperor kings, Ivis, immediately burned Anos. As soon as he burned, Anos' consciousness returned to his original body in the Ahartern forest. Misha quickly asked whether Misa was Avos Dilhade. If the rumors disappeared, then Misa would automatically die. This phenomenon was called a spirit disease, just like Lei's mother in the first season. Considering that teleportation magic couldn't be used, they had no other choice but to walk. But just when they wanted to leave, an union suddenly locked them all up. Because after all the spirits would not allow the child of the great spirit Reno to be killed. Moreover, any violence was not permitted while in immunion. In fact, with 100 Geograzed seas which had been concentrated into one, Anos was able to penetrate Immunion's defense. As soon as he came out, Anos was immediately greeted by Nigit, one of Shin's subordinates from 2,000 years ago. But instead of helping on orders from Shin or the Spirit King, Nigit was ordered to attack Anos. Aegis then came to help Anos. Anos quickly asked where Rena was. Aegis said that he had succeeded in saving Rena. However, when Aegis wanted to save his subordinates, the Child of God took her away to Dilhade. They were currently in Dilhade because previously Aegis and Anos had worked together. He would fight Nigit and his troops. Moreover, after leaving Aegis, Rena was seen contemplating while holding flowers. Anos asked if Rena knew how to get out of the Ahartern forest. Unexpectedly, Rena said that she knew how to get out of the forest, but right now they couldn't get out ordinarily. Without further ado, Rena immediately called Titi to open the exit door. However, the Spirit King had given a mandate not to let Anos and his friends leave Ahartern. However, the child of the Great Spirit, Reno, must be protected. But strangely, when Rena begged seriously without thinking, Titi immediately opened the exit door. As soon as he came out, Anos intended to use teleportation magic around Dilhade. Rena asked if she could come with Anos. Realizing that Rena had a lot to do with all the incidents that occurred, Anos decided to take her to Dilhade. The question was who Rena really was and why she was able to make Titi disobey the orders of the Spirit King as the king of all spirits. Arriving in Dilhade, a demon troops led by Elio Ludwell, Amelia Sensei's father, blocked them. In order not to be discovered, Anos used Rainiel's magic, namely illusion magic, and also Megjiro's magic to hide the flow of his magic. Elio ordered all of his troops to search for Anos Voldigode's whereabouts. However, without them realizing it, Elio and his 2 subordinates deliberately opened the gate to let Anos in. Realizing this intention, Anos and his friends immediately appeared. Based on Elio's speculation, everyone who did not believe that Anos was the demon king of tyranny would be influenced and submit to Avos Dilhade as the false demon king. Remembering the rumor that the 7 demon emperor kings were subordinates of the demon king of tyranny, all of them were also influenced by Avos Dilhade. To influence all demons, there was Demira magic, which implanted memories or commands to believe that the false demon king was Avos Dilhade. On the other hand, there had been great chaos in Dilhade. The reason was that all pure blood or nobles were hunting for demon races with mixed blood to take their mana. Interestingly, Amelia Sensei also appeared. After Anos turned her into a half-blood using Azov's magic, Amelia Sensei was also hunted by the nobility. Not only was her mana sucked out, Amelia Sensei claimed to be pure blood, causing the nobility to immediately attack her blindly. Because Amelia Sensei claimed to be pure blood even though she was mixed blood, it was an insult to the demon king of tyranny. A glimpse of the actions of the nobility reminded Amelia Sensei of when she attacked Anos' mother while degrading the half-bloods. When the nobles wanted to drain all of her mana unexpectedly, Isabella came and immediately saved Emilia Sensei. As soon as they saw Isabella, the nobility immediately wanted to teach her a lesson. Even though in Season 1 Emilia Sensei attacked Isabella, she still helped Emilia. Even though Emilia Sensei was not noble, Isabella would still be happy to help her. When the nobles cast Grez de Magic or small fire magic at Isabella, Emilia Sensei immediately protected her. When everyone had left Isabella alone, the nobles shouted that they would cut Isabella into 8 pieces. Ano suddenly came with the entire team and fans union and said that he would cut them into 888 pieces instead. Instantly, pieces of flesh appeared that resembled explosions from fireworks. When she arrived at the house, Rina looked surprised at the area around her. Anos also said that he had placed a barrier so that even Avos Dilhade could not find this house. That was why throughout this episode, Anos' parents were not caught by the nobility. On the web, it was explained that Anos was actually able to heal Emilia Sensei using magic. But if Anos did that, it would be the same as expelling Emilia Sensei, even though Isabella wanted Emilia Sensei to stay here until all the riots were over. Another interesting fact was that Anos also gave an automatic healing spell when Gusto was injured because in the first season, Anos' father was a very careless person. Continuing the discussion about the false demon king or Avos Dilhade, namely why Avos couldn't use Venus Dono and kill Anos. So only a few people know rumors or knowledge about Venus Dono's sword, because if the enemy saw it, it was certain that the person would be destroyed down to his magic source. Even so, there were still rumors that Dilhade was the Demon King's castle. By using this power or rumor, Misa or Avos Dilhade intended to get Venus Dono's sword. Without thinking, Anos immediately went to the underground city where his 10,000 children lived. Apart from being a secret passage to Dilhade, not many people knew about the underground city. Anos told the fans' union to stay and protect their parents. When they all left, Emilia Sensei was seen standing next to the door. Emilia begged Anos to be killed immediately because Emilia could no longer endure life as a mixed blood. However, Anos asked why Emilia chose to die rather than have her status restored to pure blood. Emilia was surprised because she didn't know it could be done. Anos asked if Emilia thought it would be better to be a noble who oppressed mixed blood. As soon as she heard those words, Emilia immediately realized that all this time she had also lived as a mixed blood person. But at least for now, Anos was very grateful because Emilia had protected his mother. Hearing this made Emilia cry. In the underground city, we could see Anos' children, numbering around 10,000. Seeing the design of the buildings in the underground city, Misha immediately said that it seemed like she had seen this building somewhere, namely a city building exactly 2,000 years ago. Anos and the others were on their way to Dilhade or the false demon king's castle. Arriving at Dilhade, Anos directly went to the treasure room to immediately travel to the past using magic called Revelon. When he was in the castle, Anos used Rainiel's magic or illusion magic to become invisible and also Najira's magic to hide all of his magic energy. Just as he was on his way, he saw a demon patrolling with her men. She was Luch's Anos' subordinate 2,000 years ago. Of course, because Luchi was a demon from 2,000 years ago, she had thoughts and powers that were beyond reason. Knowing that Anos had various kinds of magic to hide whereabouts, Luch immediately used Shura magic or wind waves to detect someone's whereabouts. Even when using Rainiel and Najira, according to her, the presence of people could be detected by wind waves or gusts of wind. But fortunately, she didn't succeed because Anos had used Shura to manipulate wind waves so that they blew like usual wind. As Lucha continued her journey, Mino-sensei and Revis were seen by the troops. At the same time, Anos saw an unworthy symbol on Revis' hand. Anos was surprised that Revis used that symbol even though he was noble. Anos was suspicious that this might be a trap, but Misha said it was okay. Realizing Revis' intentions, Anos immediately grabbed his shoulder to stop him. Revis, who realized that it was Anos, immediately said that he wanted to investigate further about this place. To convince Luch, Mino-sensei also gave thousands of reasons. After being flooded with 1,000 kinds of excuses, Lich immediately continued her patrol without Revis and Mino-sensei. As soon as they all left, Animus immediately released Rainiel's magic or illusion magic. Revis also said that he had expected that Anos would notice. Just as Elia Lunwell said in yesterday's episode, all the demon races, especially the nobles, had been brainwashed by Avos Dilhade. Only those who believed in the real demon king of tyranny were not affected by Dimera magic or brainwashing magic. Then a question came to light: why Revis, who didn't believe in Anos, wasn't affected by the brainwashing magic? Even though Revis didn't want to accept the fact that Anos was a demon king, Revis was sure that the demon king of tyranny would not be that cruel, at least his own race. Anos also said that to stop Avos Dilhade, at least 2 weapons were needed. Firstly, he must know the location of Evos, Spirit King or Shin, and the element in which Nosgelia was found in his body. The second was Anos would go to the past, or more precisely 2,000 years ago, using time magic called Revelon. He wanted to investigate the reason why that great spirit Reno died. In fact, the spirit could not die as long as the rumors continued to spread. The third was regarding the identity of the Spirit King. Even though it was already known that he was Shin, why did he dare to threaten Anos as his own master? The last one was about how Misha was born. If it was true that Misha was the daughter of the great spirit Reno, that meant Misha had been alive for 2,000 years. But strangely, Misha only remembered 15 years of her life. So the rest 1985, where did her memories go? Therefore, Anos wanted to go to the past to investigate. But a new problem arose. To use Revelon required a very large amount of magic energy, so even if he used Ninjure, the demons from 2,000 years ago would still be aware of it. Hearing all that, Revest offered a suggestion, namely to give him curse magic, which was difficult to practice. That way, Revest could divert the attention of the ancient demons, and Mino-sensei could also divert attention. At first, Mino-sensei rejected this crazy proposal because she didn't want her student to become a victim of war. But to appreciate his determination, Mino-sensei immediately agreed. Without any further basics, Anos immediately cast Degzeg or curse magic on Revest's body. Revest shouted. Hearing the scream, Lux and her guards immediately approached Revest. Mino-sensei quickly said that Anos Voldigode and his group were heading up. Seeing Revest, who was hit by a curse, where the curse could not be detected, made Lux believe that Anos Voldigode was really on his way up. After they all left, Anos said goodbye to Revest. Even though the guards had left, Anos couldn't heal Revest right now. As a result of receiving a very strong curse from Degzed's magic, Revest screamed in pain until he fell unconscious. But unexpectedly, when he fainted, Revest became delirious and said, "Tree Demon King, save my friends." Arriving at the treasure room, Anos immediately took the crescent sword that he had picked up from the Keeper of Time named Hugo Laravias. Eleanor asked whether going to the past could change the problem. If the existing past and the present are too contradictory, then the past would not be able to change. This meant that if the past changed drastically, it would not have an impact on the future. By combining the power of 10,000 Zeshia, Lei, Eleanor, and Sasha could use the sight sword of the God of Time. They had also succeeded in activating Revelon magic. Instantly, we could see buildings that had been destroyed by the fierce battle. That place was where the human race lived. The reason why Anos brought them here, in a house throwing blue candy, could open the way to our hard-earned forest, which was more or less the same as episode 3 yesterday. Actually, Anos could immediately look for Shin using his magic. But if he used too much magic, people in this era would feel Anos' presence. After Revelon's magic ended, the Keeper of Time would return it to its original state. But if the changes were small, they would still be left behind. To overcome this, Anos asked Lei to modify his source magic roots so that he would not be recognized as the Demon King of Tyranny, because it would be bad if it was found out. Without further ado, they immediately looked for blue candy as a condition for entering the Arhartern forest. Seeing a city full of happiness made Anos happy too. However, Sasha was surprised to see Anos, who was happy to see his defeat. Anos said that it was all because he deserved to be killed. Strangely, when Anos said that, Sasha became emotional seeing the humans who were happy because they had succeeded in defeating the Demon King of Tyranny. At the same time, Great Spirit Reno and Shin were seen looking for blue candy as souvenirs for Tiki. But Shin walked very slowly and didn't want to run. In the end, someone bought up all the blue candies. Great Spirit Reno was angry with Shin. When they were fighting, Zeshia suddenly gave her blue candies to Shin and Great Spirit Reno. It turned out that the people who had bought the blue candies were Eleanor and Zeshia. In exchange, Great Spirit Reno gave Zeshia her bag of cookies. When the Great Spirit Reno and Shin headed to the Ahartern forest, Anos and his friends immediately followed them. However, just like the prologue in episode 1, the Ahartern forest had now been attacked by heavenly beasts. The gods should not be able to enter because there were already walls of the 4 worlds that had been made by Anos. Apart from that, according to Anos' orders before he died, Shin was assigned to protect Reno no matter what happened. Without further ado, Shin immediately slaughtered all the animals there blindly. It was unexpected that even though they had used Raniel and Ninjira, the heavenly beasts could still be aware of Anos' existence. In order not to change the past, they should not use magic that was too flashy. Due to her overflowing emotions, Sasha accidentally activated her Eyes of Destruction. Instantly, the heavenly beasts were immediately destroyed, until nothing was left. Realizing this, Great Spirit Reno immediately shouted who was there. Because there was no other choice, or maybe it was actually the right choice, Anos immediately used Cursela magic to change his body into a small child. Anos appeared and introduced himself as Anos Portocolo. His friends also introduced themselves as traveling entertainers. To trick the Great Spirit Reno, Anos told Sasha to take out the eye of the demon king of tyranny. Great Spirit Reno laughed. She said that Anos Portocollo was very similar to Anos Voldigode. Anos said just because he was a kid didn't mean he was not the demon king of tyranny. Great Spirit Reno and everyone there laughed. However, this did not apply to the right hand of the demon king of tyranny, Shin. He immediately realized that the little boy was his master. However, when Anos Portocollo said that he was just a traveling entertainer, Shin also immediately said that Anos Portocollo was really just a traveling entertainer, because for Shin, the order of the demon king of tyranny was absolute. If Anos had to say that he was a traveling entertainer, Shin would also consider that Anos Portocollo was a traveling entertainer. Anos' purpose in coming here was to meet Great Spirit Reno to ask about Rena's identity, considering that Great Spirit Reno knew all kinds of spirits and their names. However, it was unexpected that Great Spirit Reno said that she did not know who Rena was. But in the end, Great Spirit Reno said that the woman was the Flan Love Fairy. She said that they should stay away from Rena because if Rena realized that she was the Love Fairy Flan, then Rena would automatically disappear. Suddenly, Lei panicked about his sword. Anos forgot to say that if they used Revlon, they couldn't take things to the past, including all the swords that Lei had. Anos quickly ordered Shin to take out a unique sword called Shigesta. At first, Shin didn't want to give him the sword. Moreover, the unique sword called Shigesta was very difficult, and no one could even control it except Shin and Anos Voldigode. But Great Spirit Reno urged him to do so. Hearing the request from the Great Spirit Reno, Shin immediately took out the Shigesta sword. It was unexpected that when Anos threw the sword, Lei was able to use it. He could even kill heavenly beasts with one attack. The Maou Gakuin Season 2 and 9 was closed with Shin lending Shigesta his sword and having to give one scratch to Shin's body as payment. Thank you to all who keep watching the content from this channel. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so we can keep you updated with our latest contents. See you in the next video.